Hey everyone, I'm Diana. I'm a 3-time startup PM and I've now co-founded my own startup, and I follow a lot of B2B SaaS companies so that you don't have to. Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk about Notion and specifically one of their newer features, Notion AI. So this has been out for a couple months now and people have been telling me to try it and I just simply have not had time. So I'm finally going to try it today. If you haven't used Notion before, Notion is basically just Google Docs on steroids, and people do some really crazy stuff with Notion. There's like automation, workflows, templates, all in Notion, so you could really go crazy if you wanted to. The most typical use cases are listed out here, like wikis. We use Notion for our company wiki, documentation, for project management, and then I also know that some product managers actually use Notion for road mapping. And when we started the company, actually, I used Notion as well, but it just got a little bit too crazy. So now I use Product Board. But anyway, because Notion is kind of where you do a little bit of everything, and embedding AI in where you work, I think is just one of the best use cases for AI. The Notion AI feature did make a lot of sense. So one thing to know about the Notion AI feature is that it is an upsell feature. So they let you try 20 different API calls for free. And then if you want to upgrade, you have to upgrade your plan so that you can keep using it. And hopefully I'm not going to try it more than 20 times on this video. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of calls. So one of the use cases that I thought was really interesting that they highlighted for the AI feature is being able to summarize meeting notes. And anyone who has worked with me before knows that I take copious verbatim notes in most meetings. So I'm going to take meeting notes from one of the meetings that I had, and this is actually a meeting where I was spending all the time talking, so I didn't have the time to write up verbatim notes. So instead, I just kind of put down a couple bullets that I remembered after the call. So this will be a little bit harder for the AI. Okay, so here are the meeting notes. And then I'm going to have the AI, let's summarize it. So I think overall that's not the best summary in the world, but I also recognize that like these meeting notes are kind of not great. So I could see how it might be useful, but you still have to go in and basically summarize it yourself and make sure it's accurate. But let's also ask the AI to find action items, because that's super useful. And I don't know, I feel like those aren't my action items. So I think overall for that particular use case, it didn't do very well on these meeting notes, but I think for maybe like more extensive meeting notes, it might do better. All right, so the next thing that people have said is good for AI is to write a blog post. So I think we can definitely try that. So let's say, I think that's incredible. This is a great blog post. It's probably better than something I would write if I were the PM or PMM writing this announcement blog post. There's headers, it's formatted, and there's even a conclusion. And of course, I'd probably go in and not say conclusion because no one actually writes blog posts with a and actually titles a section conclusion. But overall, I think this is much more impressive than the meeting summarization use case. And finally, one small thing I wanted to do was just see like how comprehensive their AI actually is and whether or not they kind of limit it more to Notion use cases or to everything. So they claim that you can ask it anything. So let's try that. And I think what's going on is now that it's highlighting this, it's actually going to use that as context for the next one. So maybe I'm like confused why I didn't fill in the bullets. So fill in the bullets with restaurant names. Okay, interesting. Okay. So I think overall their AI seems really useful, and it's really nice that it's just like directly in Notion, but it seems to behave a little bit differently from what I'm used to from using like ChatGPT or directly querying the GPT-3 API. So I'd say I think there's like a lot of room for this to get really amazing and better, but there definitely are just like some interesting quirks that you want to know about if you actually want to use this long term. But I think there's so much potential here in embedding AI into your everyday workflow. And so I'm super excited to keep trying it because I'm sure they're going to keep making it better so that the results are getting better all the time, every day. So if you're using Notion, definitely take a look at whether or not you want to try out their Notion AI feature. So yeah, happy testing. So I know how hard it is to stay up to date with all of the SaaS products that are literally coming out every day. So I have a playlist that covers all the SaaS products that I find particularly interesting that you might find interesting as well. So if you think this is useful, hit the subscribe button.